pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Morgan Township work session, March 8th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Have a roll call, Mrs. Cox?
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Does she have a mic?
No, she's got one, she just didn't have it on.
Okay.
Alrighty. Morgan Township work session on the new zoning position. Did you get you got a copy of this?
Yeah,
All right. You guys all got copies of the?
We
No.
don't, but that's okay.
It's up, they'll put it up on the board or up on the TV monitor.
All right, you do that.
I'm
switch.
ready. It should switch over because I'm still,
All right, so.
make it just a little bigger because you might not be able to read it right there in the back. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right,
So who wants to read?
well, I'll read if you want.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, because,
You don't
I mean,
have it on now.
Morgan Township Code Enforcement Zoning Officer, job description and duties. Title, Code Enforcement Zoning Officer. Part-time, 12 hours per week. Salary to be determined. The Code Enforcement Officer performs a variety of routine and complex work in the interpretation and enforcement of adopted codes, ordinances, and related rules and regulations relating to zoning, health and safety, blight, and other matters of public concern, as well as serves as a resource and provides information on township regulations to property owners, residents, and businesses. Duties include coordinating enforcement of the township zoning and nuisance regulations, conducting on-site inspections to ensure compliance. Supervision. Position is under the general guidance and direction of the Township Administrator and Board of Trustees. Summary. Position ensures the compliance of zoning regulated ordinances, public nuisance abatements, property maintenance, abandoned and inoperable vehicles, and other related duties. An employee in this class performs technical, administrative, and investigative work in the enforcement of zoning regulations and related provisions for the town. The code enforcement officer works to maintain an attractive, safe community which helps improve both property values and the quality of life within Morgan Township.
All right, under those three, everybody good? Do you like that? Don't
But-
like that?
Well, under the summary, it should say related provisions for the township.
Right.
And then after that, just a question, is the same document that I got in the email, the same document that we printed out?
Yes.
Okay,
That's the one Chief Galloway sent.
okay,
Yeah, this is all Mr. Galloway's writing, not mine.
okay. So that should be township, and then it says the code enforcement officer works, plural.
Right, yeah.
So you got all that?
I read it that way because I'm an former English teacher, so it's like, yeah, so it needs to be works, right?
And also, do we want to say anything there that this position is really the face to the community? This will be a
Well, I think
very
it's,
visible position. So, I mean, in the last couple of paragraphs, the chief brought out that there's tact that's going to be required and some courteous processes we'd have to hire against those qualifications. But that's just my thoughts.
Well, there's a little bit of that towards the end. We'll
Right,
get to
it's
it
under
there.
the
yeah,
duties,
I think it
But I
is.
think
his
this is
res-
more just a summary of the description. And I don't know if I want to go there the face because they're going to be dealing with most of the people that aren't up to code. If you know where I'm going with that.
Right, it's not going
Well, they're gonna
to
be
be
the
always a
first.
pleasant situation.
Oh, I know, that's what I'm thinking. It's, as long as the person knows what they're in for, it's all good.
Yeah,
Let's go back up to the classification. I know it's part-time, but the 12 hours a week, is that, what's included in that 12 hours? Is that attending meetings? Because we want them to attend the meetings,
That's later on, it does say that.
Right, but I mean, I think we're gonna require more than 12 hours. 12 hours to do the job, but then there's meetings and things that, in addition to that 12 hours.
My thought on that is we kind of start at 12 hours.
For
And
everything,
it may
including meetings?
adjust. And it may adjust.
Okay. Well, I think we need to tell them, instead of saying 12, that, say 12 to 20 or some, give them like a parameter, because if we're going to be flexible on how many hours we're requiring, I don't want them to, at 11 and a half hours in the middle of something, say, oh, I'm only allowed to work 12 hours and go home. You know, I think we need to,
Yeah, and
or
I
say,
don't-
I can't
and
work this week because I
personally-
got a zoning, a BZA meeting, I got a trustee meeting, I got, you know, there's 6 hours right there.
Right. And I honestly feel, having done that portion of it, it takes more than 12 hours. I mean, it can take an hour per letter, and then you've got to go to court. You've got the other things that will happen if he takes it that far. if
Right.
It's taken that far. And 12 hours is certainly pushing it for him to, yeah, one day he would drive around 6 hours. One day he would drive around the township looking for everything else. 6 hours he would spend on,
Don't say he.
or
They.
she,
They.
Yeah, I'm going to say
Okay.
they, trying to keep it that way. They would be driving around, you know, the township,
Township.
and then coming in and
Okay.
recording what they're doing. It's just,
I'm all right going 12 to 20 for right now.
Okay, I think that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's new territory. Or we're breaking it into
You know,
new.
you could say a 12-hour base, because if you say 12 to 20, you might be hiring somebody under false pretense if they think, well, I could work up to 20 hours. But I'm good,
I
like you say,
I
you're
think
starting
once
out.
we get started and we start seeing improvement areas, more people are gonna come forward. Right now, people are looking at it like, why report it? They don't do anything about it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Should we take each one of the duties one at a time?
Yep.
yeah.
All we can see is the very top of what you talked about.
Oh, okay. We'll move down here. We're going down to this part. Okay, and it is rather
Want to
lengthy
take one
there.
at a time and do it?
Yeah, I say we just go one at a time.
All right. Duties and responsibilities. Enforces township zoning codes not primarily enforced by law enforcement.
We may read a bunch and then come back.
Oh, I thought each one was gonna read
Oh,
one.
okay. Coordinates with the building inspectors, fire chief, and other agencies as necessary to secure compliance with township codes when enforcement becomes necessary.
My thought on that one is, could we add the word county there?
Add the word what?
County,
County building inspector?
county building
Yeah, that's
inspectors.
probably,
You need to have something in there about the ORC.
I think he gets down in there. I think it's a little
I
further
think that's
down.
later,
Okay.
if I
As
remember.
I remember, somewhere along in there, it is ORCs and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's in there later.
Okay.
Okay. Perform systematic site inspections of properties to ensure compliance with all applicable township zoning codes and regulatory requirements. Enforces all aspects of township zoning codes and ordinances. Take photos of zoning violations for documentation purposes.
drive throughout the township identifying code violations and issuing letters to violators. Should we?
Well, not that I, just drives throughout the township identifying code violations, period, then issues letters to violators,
Okay.
if I may interject
Or
my
the next
English.
one may cover it too.
Were you going to stay involved in any of the letter writing or any of that expertise area?
Well, that's the next one, and I already had a questionnaire on
Yeah, I don't
And
like
some
being
different
things.
violated either.
All right,
on
go
the
ahead.
next one.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that
I
sort of
don't want to
overlap.
I don't want to derail this.
No, no,
Keep
you're
going,
good, you're
keep
good.
going.
No, there's a lot of things that are kind of overlap.
No, I see that.
We could drop that and just let it drive throughout the township identifying code violations.
Why don't we just do that, because we're covering that in the next.
In the next one,
Let's just
right.
take that out of there.
The whole thing?
No, just
Just
drive
the
throughout
issuing
the
letters.
township identifying code violations, period.
Okay.
Then go to the next one.
All right. Write letters of violation, warnings, or stop work orders for any township code violation issues, and then issues necessary citations for non-compliance. I had put a question mark, and I think that may be something where they need to work with the other one, with Dale. I think Dale needs to stay involved in that part of it, because I think that's your strong point, and there's
Well,
different
it all
letters
depends
and
upon it all depends upon
helping with that.
it all
Not
depends-
that he can't, but I think that should be a
Right,
joint
and
thing.
It's going to
Right,
depend upon the zoning violation itself. If it's a junk car, a letter is perfectly fine. If it's a nuisance property, that's ORC, not violation.
And after a while, you're gonna have pretty much a form letter for each one, and then you just kind of
I
change and
basically
tweak,
do,
because
but
that's what we,
But you still got to go into at least one paragraph where you're detailing the specifics of the violation and what they need to do.
I
I
agree.
Regardless
think,
how
I think
you do it.
if we do come up with the form letters like you either already have or in the process of getting for each situation.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if he witnessed the violation and took the pictures, he should write up what,
Oh,
because
definitely.
if he tries to translate that to you and you write it, there could be something missed.
No,
So-
my idea is that they would, if I happen to find a violation, I would give it to them.
Right,
And they would go and just look at it
Right.
from that point. But if it's a setback violation, no, that's the administration area.
okay.
I mean, you're not gonna find those unless you're out there and actually doing the measurement. And that's what would be left with me to do on a new construction or an addition, to go out and check the setbacks.
Well, how about, let's just reword that a little bit and writes letters of violation, warning, blah, blah, blah. Any township code violations with the zoning administrative. What's your exact title? We've changed-
Administrator, zoning administrator.
Well, I thought we weren't gonna go that, because that would make it sound like he reports to you, or this person reports to you. So we were gonna have one, I thought we had a different title for it.
well, I would say he still stays zoning administrator, because he's still in charge of doing those meetings and running those. And that's basically what an administrator does. Your enforcement's gonna be the one that goes out and does the codes,
I
because he's still
understand.
gotta run the meetings.
So we gotta have some segregation there, that it doesn't look like this person filling this position reports to Dale.
That's just the way we set it up, and
You could
But I
work,
think
you could state that
gotta
he
go back in my
working
notes.
with the zoning administrator, okay? I think that word verbiage might work better that way.
all right, something to think about.
Yep. We had,
All right, I think it's you, isn't it?
Okay. Maintains,
Yep.
maintains a list of all abandoned real estate, enforces any related ordinance violations. That's good. I'm kind of good with that.
Okay.
Yeah, because, I mean, I've tried to do that, but with all the other things I got going on, it's like, I mean, I can identify them, but I don't have it in any database, and it would be good to have. Because I know of 3 properties on Schraden alone that seem to be abandoned, and one on State Line Road.
But on the second part, reading it again, it enforces any related ordinance actions. You don't enforce the violation, you enforce whatever your term would be in result of a violation.
I don't know if they mean like they let it up and grow and it needs to be mowed,
Yeah,
That's
that's,
kind of what I'm catching they're trying to
yeah,
say.
which one of the violations is it?
On the
Is it
enforces any
inoperable?
related, because a lot of them, and I hate to say this, the banks have an insurance policy. When they go abandoned, they have to sit empty for 2 years for them to collect their insurance money. If they sell it less than the 2 years, they take the loss. That's why they leave them abandoned. I don't know if you knew that or not.
No, I didn't, but that's good to know.
So that's why they sit empty for 2 years, and they really don't want to put anybody in it for 2 years because they make money when it sits empty. It's not good for the house, not good for us, but that's the way most of them are done. All right. You ready?
Yep, inspect and/or coordinate with county building inspectors and fire department to inspect structures for determination of soundness and consideration for condemnation. Is that something we really want them to do? They're not a building inspector. How would they know? Do we want them to
Well-
get in and look at if a building is structurally sound?
Well, take 1714 Bell Road and that dilapidated garage.
Okay.
Did it take much for me to look at it and say, I ended up calling the building inspectors,
Yeah, because we did get into that a little.
okay? I did end up calling it, and it is one way to kind of move things along because the building inspector who worked with the owner on this one really got on his butt, okay, about it. And I think that's the only reason why we have it back to where it's kind of acceptable, but it
Right.
doesn't have doors on it, okay?
Almost like the one in Shandon right there that fell over finally.
Yep. Yeah, the old house there
The old
that's right
house that
around
finally-
the curve, just before the curve, yeah.
It's gone now that fell over. All right.
We're on inspect and coordinate, right? With
Yep.
county building inspector.
Yep, so you determined if variance.
So okay.
And the-
Determine if variances are needed, post and deliver to either zoning or planning commission?
That one is strictly zoning administration. No matter how you look at it, for him to determine whether or not that's a variance, that's not within the purview of what I see this.
I would agree
them
with that.
doing.
Okay.
So
Scratch
we mark that one out.
Yep.
Attends all hearings for zoning and ordinance violations. Schedules hearings for matters pertaining to the zoning and planning commission.
That I think is yours too.
Exactly, the second part is, he can.
Yeah, he can attend the
Attend the
hearings.
meetings, but scratch the second part.
Attends monthly township trustee meetings and provides detailed monthly reports to the township administrator.
Well,
Good.
now, we meet bi-weekly, so, and I've
Yeah, it's
given
not a
you,
monthly meeting, it's a,
and I give you, yeah, so bi-weekly
Well-
would be the word.
it's saying monthly township meetings, so how about if we just say attends township trustee meetings, and take the monthly out,
Take the monthly out is fine.
and then
Details,
they do provide a detailed monthly report.
I just say a detailed report to the township administrator, and then you just take the monthly word out. Because Dale does it,
I do it bi-weekly
almost
for
bi-
you.
All right,
Bi-weekly,
let's take
every-
the monthly out of both of them.
yep.
All right. Good.
All right. Responds to and investigates complaints of zoning and other township code violations. Works with agencies to resolve code issues.
That one's kind of weird and strange to me because he can investigate the complaints, like a citizen complaint, that's perfectly within the purview of them doing that, right?
Actually, I would leave it, and I'll tell you why. What if we have a Board of Health issue? He spots it, you basically got to go to that agency to get it done.
Right.
Because that
I
has
mean,
happened before.
Because that's what I'm about ready to do with one I'll tell you later tonight.
Conducts field inspections of property to determine compliance with various land use and nuisance regulations.
That's within the purview of the zoning administrator, I feel. And it also speaks
Yeah.
to the BZA, because the BZA is the one who determines whether or not the use is conforming or allowable. Okay, and so do the codes in
Yeah.
terms of that.
It's almost like whatever can be done from inside this building is yours, and whatever can be done on the outside is the other parties.
They certainly can bring it to my attention so
Yeah.
that I can then follow through with it. I mean, we've got to work together regardless of whether he's reporting to me or not. It doesn't bother me. You know,
So that's it for the duties and responsibilities. Is there anything else that we missed or that we?
Does he need to turn in any expense reports, mileage driven,
They're gonna have
or
a
anything like
vehicle.
that to Tina?
he-
Gonna have a
Well,
vehicle.
if we're using our vehicle, there won't be a mileage.
But they're not going to have the vehicle until when?
When the new one gets in.
When the new one gets in, which is September?
Yeah.
September, and it might be a little after that time it
I
goes
mean,
to.
because at this point, I don't ask for mileage, you know that. And I drive around this, you know, today I probably drove 14 miles.
I thought we were paying you mileage.
No.
No, only for when I go out of the township and to court. Remember, I did ask you to give me mileage for court.
I was told that as long as the zoning administrator was traveling within the township, he did not get mileage.
Huh.
And
I
so
was-
I
was
haven't
told that
been.
when I first took this position.
But I will say this, when you first took that position, that was back, and we have changed and progressed since then.
I agree with that, I'm just,
Tremendously.
I don't know if that's,
I'm
written
not gonna
somewhere,
ask.
or, I do know that we are not supposed to claim mileage until we leave the township. We can't claim mileage from here, we can only claim once we leave the township.
But if it's part of your duties, though, I mean, if we travel, we could legitimately submit a voucher.
Well,
But that
that's a
would-
touchy situation
but I mean,
because we're
that would-
elected officials.
Well, that's what I'm saying. In that situation, I could say, well, you're going to donate that. That's on you. But if we're hiring somebody to do that, but hopefully we're not. We've got a vehicle for them.
But
cross
the
that bridge.
first, if you hire them within a month or so, then there's going to be a few months where they would be traveling in their own vehicle,
That is true.
all right? Until that time. And then after that, of course,
It wouldn't be,
It wouldn't- it wouldn't be a
immediate issue.
question.
Right.
but I mean, if I take, let's say, when I've driven out and I go and I do my inspections on my certificates and stuff like that, I've split the township up at Cincinnati Brookville Road. Okay, and I divide out my folders or my certificates from south and north. And then one day I go north and I travel the northern part of the township, regardless of whether it ends up down there. And the next day, I go to the south, which includes all the roads to the south. So, I mean, and we have how many miles of roads?
33.
33 miles of roads. So, and if I'm touching them all, or I have to touch one to get to another, I put some miles on the truck. But guys, I have never felt bad about it, the fact, okay, because I was contributing to the township in terms of what I did.
All right, so
There's one that I think Dale wrote this up, that we probably should include there that really wasn't touched upon, is work with the prosecutor on filing and prosecuting violations in court. I mean, we talk a little bit about it, but I think they need to have a good rapport with the prosecutor's office and We really don't call out. We talk about building inspectors, we talk about the fire department.
Let's do this. Let's go ahead and go over the knowledge and skills and the rest of it, and then we'll come back on this in case something here tweaks our mind of something we forgot.
All right, knowledge, skills, and abilities. Knowledge of code enforcement principles, practices, and methods as applicable to local government. Working knowledge of applicable laws, standards, and regulations relating to nuisance and public safety codes.
All right, knowledge of Morgan Township zoning rules, ordinance, and regulation, or regulatory standards. Man, I am butchering this, sorry. Let's try that again. Knowledge of Morgan Township zoning rules, ordinance, and regulatory standards.
Regulatory.
I can't say it for some reason today.
Okay, that's fine.
Regulatory, there we go. Standard applicable to code enforcement work and responsibilities. Knowledge of Ohio revised codes pertaining to zoning. So there's your Ohio revised code.
Yeah.
Okay.
Knowledge of record keeping, report preparation, filing methods, and records management techniques.
Ability to understand and utilize zoning maps, land use maps, plat maps, and other documents related to real property. That should probably go more toward Dale, right?
Yes. I mean, seriously.
Because they're going to be driving around looking for violations,
Violations, not for,
nuisance property, things
yeah,
like that.
they have no
Well,
need.
that could go both ways, and here would be my example. If someone's trying to do a business in the non-business, ain't that more of the land use and the different,
It
it
is,
kind of crosses?
yeah, but it doesn't do land use maps. I mean, okay, land use, that would be a BZA thing. If he feels that, then he would work with me on a BZA piece, right? We would file it with the BZA. But the thing of it is, we could, they could work with the person personally, okay, on that type of work. But in the long run, it's up to the person in the violation of the use to decide whether or not he wants to come before the BZA, all right?
But this would be good knowledge as well,
Right.
even though it kind of falls more to you, because
He
if
has
he's
no
there and
use for
sees it,
land.
he can let you know.
He needs to know the zoning maps, okay? He needs to know the zoning districts, but not the land use map, because that is totally different.
Copy.
Because that map only shows where the land is actually being used, how it's being used by the zoning, you know, by the various zoning things, residential, business, or anything else like that. But for instance, when you take 6439 Okeana-Druersburg, what zone is it in? R2. There's a gentleman down there who I think very well is running a business, which is not acceptable in the R2 district. That's what they need to know in terms of being the violation, not the land use map that we're going to be revising here over the next year or so, okay?
Okay.
Zoning maps is fine, okay? But land use maps, plat maps, he's not going to be touching those. Plat maps are only going to show frontage and depth, okay? Which are in the administrator's purview, because I'm the one working with, the administrator's the one working with setbacks, okay?
Okay.
You see, just the ability to understand and using zoning maps would be all I would say in that one.
Yep, take out the land use and the plat maps.
All right, so the ability to effectively communicate both orally and in writing, and to advise on standard compliance methods.
Okay. Ability to perform work with a minimum of supervision and to understand and follow instructions.
Ability to establish and maintain effective working relationships with those contacted in the course of work, including other township departments and outside agencies.
Okay, the ability to organize work, establish priorities, meet established deadlines, and follow up on assignments with a minimum of direction.
Ability to show courtesy, tact, and sensitivity to individual differences when dealing with people who are hostile, difficult, and/or distressed.
Yep, that's going to be a real live.
I would almost say the ability to stay calm during that would be the key. Stern but calm. All right.
Ability to use computer.
All right. Ability to independently prepare routine correspondence and memorandums.
And this last one you could take out, it says the same thing. One, two, three, four, five, six above. When
Yeah.
It says ability to perform work with a minimum of supervision and to understand and follow instructions. And then the last bullet says ability to understand and follow written and oral instructions. So you can probably take the last one out. You've already got that covered up higher.
Okay. That's good. Good there, you think?
Yeah. Minimum qualifications. High school diploma or GED equivalent. I think we need another one. Must have a valid driver's license.
Yep.
With reasonable,
Insurance.
no, in other words, I don't want them having 4 DUIs and 10 speeding tickets. You gotta meet, I say, a minimum
Clean driving record.
clean driving record or reasonable driving record.
Now, they will be driving a vehicle down the road, September, October timeframe, but not be required to have a CDL. So will they still be subject to drug screening?
Personally, I think we should,
But that-
because if they're driving our
vehicle.
vehicles,
So-
yes.
Subject to random,
And they
Drug
follow
testing.
under same rules. If there's any incident, they gotta go get a drug test,
Right.
just like the rest.
okay.
Do you want to include that they have to pass a polygraph
Yeah, because they're going to do that to be hired.
and a background check? I got it, Dale.
I'd say a background check. I don't know if we need to do the polygraph for this.
Let's just say
Let's get with Chief on that one, because
this background check.
I'd say background check, driver's license.
Okay.
Seems like I'm forgetting something else. Driver's license, background check. Yeah, because they'll have to have a clean record because they're going to go on our insurance as well for driving. Physical. All right, should we go through physical demands and then we'll
Yep.
get back over everything?
Yep.
All right, I'll go first. The physical demands described here are representative of those that must be met by an employee to successfully perform the essential functions of this job.
Work is performed mostly in field settings. Considerable outdoor work is required in the inspection of various land uses and other matters. Hand-eye coordination is necessary to operate computers and various pieces of office equipment.
Good, all right. While performing the duties of this job, the employee is occasionally required to stand, walk, talk, or hear, use hands, fell, or operate tools. That don't make sense.
I don't,
I don't know what the fell is in there.
use hands,
Use hand or operate tools. Okay, we'll go on.
I'm not sure what that's supposed to
The
be.
the employee is occasionally required to sit, climb, stoop, crouch, or crawl. The employee must occasionally lift and/or move up to 50 pounds. Use,
I'm not sure what that one word's supposed to be.
yeah,
Something misspelled, spelled F-E-L-L. Have any idea what that might be?
I'm trying to think because.
can't think
I
either.
mean,
Use hands or hands, blank, or operate tools. To talk or hear.
because it's definitely fell, but it's,
yeah,
I don't know what it's supposed to be.
okay.
All right. Anything anybody thinks we missed, forgot?
That looks pretty good.
Connie, Tina? Any thoughts? Dale?
I do around the words codes, ordinances, and rules and regulations. Those 4 words can mean different things within the zoning world, okay?
Where are you looking specifically?
Anywhere in the,
Okay,
anywhere in there, because they're used intermittently in different situations.
well, they have to know the zoning code, the
Or
resolution.
A resolution,
Okay,
right?
so they have to know that. They have to know land use, basically, if it's an R2 or A1 or
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
But what ordinances would they use? I mean, you know, ordinances to me are something that,
Well, that would go back to the ORC if they see that, you know, and in our zoning resolution, if it addresses junk cars, and doesn't it refer to an ORC? So they
it
would.
does, yes. in
Yeah, they
certain-
would have to.
In certain situations,
They
yeah.
would have to be able to
The junk vehicle. would
look
be
at
able
the ORC to interpret that, to identify what is a junk vehicle.
to- Okay.
Is it a
And
car
so that I
on
can
blocks,
s-
or is it
I
something
can
that's been
see
sitting?
that as the word codes, but not ordinance. Because to me, an ordinance is, I mean, the county has ordinances, they're building ordinances. And Morgan Township doesn't have any building ordinances. We
Okay.
don't, I mean, we don't tell a person how they have to build their, you know, how it should be built, much more than the county does, okay? Maybe I'm just playing with words here, but I wanted to make it a little less confusing between the,
All right, one thing I was thinking about, correct me if I'm wrong, it says attends the township trustee meetings. I actually think they should go to the commission meeting and probably the BZA hearings as well.
I think it's in there.
you know,
It's in there.
I thought it was, but I couldn't find it. Or am I missing it? I know it
The
says
town.
attend.
attends all hearings for zoning and ordinance violation. It's under the duties and responsibilities. One,
Which, how
two,
far down
three,
are you?
It's right
4
above
up
it.
from the bottom.
It's right above
right above.
the township trustee
You're right,
meetings.
you're right. I kept looking for it and couldn't find it, and I was like,
Yeah,
Field inspections.
because we scratched that sentence after, or the phrase after it.
yes.
Okay.
So instead of having the word ordinance, would you be more comfortable with like a nuisance regulation or something to that effect? Or you think just our zoning resolution
Well, we don't,
under what? Our zoning resolution,
either zoning
what's the heading
resolution-
on junk cars?
I would think that either zoning regulations or Ohio revised codes,
Right, that's what we
Either
addressed.
two.
But-
both of them.
But what do we call it in our zoning resolution violations? What do we call that?
Violations, but,
So
Zoning
it's a
violation.
zoning
yeah,
violation.
it's a
Okay.
zoning violation.
So we should
but-
keep it consistent. So if we're not using the word ordinance, then I agree with you. We shouldn't have the word ordinance in here.
Yeah, because we don't,
A zoning violation of what? I think that's what you all are circling around. It's a
Yeah.
violation of what?
Well, it's a specific
it's a violation
zoning
of specific zoning
resolution code, or,
It's, yeah, of the regulation, the zoning regulation, and the Ohio revised code. It's either or, because we only have, I mean, when you look at it, if we look at Oganer-Duisburg, that's a violation of the zoning regulations, okay? And there are no ORC codes behind it. It's all ours,
okay.
okay? And then when you look at junk cars, we have a regulation on junk vehicles or inoperable vehicles, which you will be approving the revision for, hopefully, next.
But it has a corresponding
But it has
ORC.
a reference of the ORC code. So regulations and code would be the two words I would use more than I would ordinances.
Because doesn't the ordinance a lot of times go more to cities?
Yes, it does, because
Because they
Butler
have
County
different
has-
ordinances where we do not have ordinance.
Right.
Yes.
It's not that you couldn't have ordinances, because you could, but if it was a hometown rule, if you were a home ruled township, you would do building ordinances, which specifically say you can't have, no more than, we say that in our regulations, but we don't, I mean, there are just a lot of codes in there that ordinances pertain to specific things
So-
more.
So should we change it to enforces any related zoning violations and take the word ordinance out of there?
Yes.
Would that,
I would
You-
see that the word ordinances be struck and put zoning violation.
Okay.
Or zoning, okay,
well, violation's already there, so just
yeah,
substitute zoning for ordinance.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so substitute,
And that's midway down in the duties and responsibilities.
and
like
it's
the
also up in
one,
the
two.
description too.
All right. So we'll make all these changes and get with chief and
Yeah. And
go from there.
he is on his way back. He said he'd probably be about 7:10, 7:15. So if you want to readjust the trustee meeting agenda, cover another person before he gets back, and then he'll cover his topics.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
So I think we're good for this for right now.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the work session.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Okay.
Mr. Brucker,
Yes.
Mr. Kolb,
Yes.
Mr. Updike.
Yes.
We are adjourned.
So it all works either way.